With its seemingly long list of benefits, which includes boosting mood, alleviating pain, promoting healthy sleep and healthy digestion, improving skin conditions, and so many more, it's no wonder people are turning to essential oils to support their health and well-being. The popularity of these wonder-working oils is stirring interest in learning how to extract them for personal use or for business. Welcome to Extraction Essentials, where you'll learn and discover how to create a formula using quality engineered products. Hosted by Tony Frischknecht, this podcast is all about the process of extraction tools and the equipment that surrounds the extraction lab or facility. Create an income while enjoying the many benefits and uses of essential oils by tuning in to Extraction Essentials.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Extraction Essentials. I'm your host, Tony Frischknecht. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I've got some exciting stuff to share with you. If you guys missed our episode last week, we were talking about infusing alcohol. And so today I've got Nick Gay on here. He's head of project management. Nick is going to actually walk us through a short video, and then we're going to be talking to him about what happened in his lab. You know, we've got a lab. It's not your traditional lab, but it's the way we work here at Extraction Essentials, and we have some really cool footage to show you. And so, Nick, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. By the way, for you guys out there watching, Nick is traveling right now, so we have actually been able to catch him at a pit stop. So don't mind the background. It's just what happens this day in working from wherever you're at. So, Nick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
Hey, it's awesome. I want to recap a little bit before we get into the video so that people out there understand where we're starting out in this video. So, Nick, can you share with the people that are watching or listening out there, what type of recipe are we using, and maybe why we chose this particular recipe?
Totally. So it's a all gin is going to be juniper forward. So juniper is the major constituent in our recipe. And a couple of the other things are cardamom pods, coriander seed, orange peel, lemon peel, and then also I added some lime flowers as well.
Okay. And what made you choose this recipe in particular? Also, why gin?
Okay, so I chose gin because it's one of the few alcohols that's commonly consumed that is infused with botanicals. Of course, there are other ones, but that's why we chose gin, and in the future we'll move forward with other different alcohol infusions as well.
Okay, great. Guys, I'm just going to share my screen, so sorry for the phone going off, folks. Like I said, he's on the road, so we're keeping this going, so excuse that. So right now I'm going to start it off. And Nick is actually, he's got a martini glass in front of him, and he's going to be starting to peel the outside of an orange, and he's creating the cocktail. So Nick, as we go forward here, please share with the folks listening and watching, what's your process, why you're doing this, and we'll move from there. Okay?
Totally. All right, so here we are, and I'm just doing a little intro showing this CO2 closed loop extraction unit that we make here at Essential Extraction. There in front of me is all the botanicals that we use to infuse the alcohol, and all the other materials. So
right here on the left, you have the little buddy. I've got my little mouse. I think you guys can see that out there, but I've got the little buddy here on the left, and then in front of him, he's got 6 jars. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different jars. And what do you have in these jars in front of you, Nick?
Totally. I can't see too well, but I believe on the far left, this is a better picture. So on the far left, that is juniper berry, and then to the right of that, coriander seed, cardamom pods, dried orange peel, licorice root, which actually I didn't mention. That's in the recipe as well.
Okay.
Cinnamon stick, and then on the far right there, that's the actual recipe in the jar.
Oh, you have it all mixed together. Okay, exactly. I see. Okay, great. So I'm going to hit play again. We're going to walk through here, and we're just doing a quick recap on all the different products so you guys can see the ingredients. And the addition, what did you say it was, licorice stick?
Yeah, licorice stick, which is right there that the camera just went over there.
What kind of flavor does that add to the alcohol itself? What's the purpose of adding licorice stick?
The licorice root, a lot of people add that into their gins, just for it kind of sweetens up the mix a little bit. But licorice root is what they use to make black licorice. So it's kind of a similar taste to that, but not in alcohol. It's not quite as sweet and not quite as licoricey, I guess.
Okay, licoricey, I got it. Yeah, not quite as strong. If
Exactly.
everybody's out there's experienced licorice before, and if you don't like it, you really don't like it generally. So
Totally.
So right now Nick is filling up the container where we would normally put the biomass or the herbs. He's filling in the top of the container here. And excuse me, Nick, what's the correct name for this container, just so that everybody understands?
A lot of people call it the biomass chamber, but we call it the process vessel.
Okay.
Because it does more than just extract biomass.
Okay, cool. So he's filling this up right now. I'm just running play while he dumps this in. He's just getting this ready to process, is really what it comes down to. Now this is pretty cool. We've got just kind of a time lapse where he's installing the top of the chamber and getting it ready to connect it to the little buddy with the wing nuts. Now in the new system we have, it's all wing nuts. We don't have any regular bolts, so we made that easier. And then there, just a second ago, you were doing something with the filters there. Were you just closing those up, or what were you doing exactly?
Yeah, so I was actually I had previously cleaned those out and I let them out to dry. So I was putting those inline filters back into the system.
Okay, great. Now it looks like you're starting the machine.
Yeah, so as you can see on that pressure gauge there, right as I turn that knob, how it went up. So that's me adding CO2 into the system, into the closed loop system. And so what's happening right now is the CO2 is entering the closed loop system. It's being chilled by the chiller, which is actually within the unit, and so you can't see it. So I'm looking at that sight glass, waiting for it to fill up with liquid CO2. And then you'll see once I have that filled up, then I dump the CO2 and start the run. So yeah, as you can see there, both knobs are now open. We're cycling. So now we just let that run. I believe we let it run for 4 hours for this extraction. So it's just on its own now running.
Okay, great. And that took you, now that wasn't in a time lapse. That took you all of like a minute and a half.
Totally. Yeah.
To set
so
up.
really, that's the only work you need to put in to get this machine running, is that couple minutes, and then also your changeover and cleaning time. So even though the machine is running for 4 hours, you can be off doing whatever. You could be at work. You could, so that's
like we had mentioned in other episodes, that the safety on this is basically set up that if we have a trigger that's a pressure trigger that would just let out the gas in the room, and that would be it, right? So it's very safe to run, even if you're not around the machine watching it as it runs.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you're gonna blow essential oils all over the wall or something.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna continue the video here, and Nick's got a camera. I don't know that we're going to see that angle, but he's taking a video of above while he's putting this stuff together. So we'll probably see that in other parts of the episode or at a later time.
Totally. And I also just want to point out that TV there in the background, because it's super sweet. I don't know if anyone's noticed that.
Yeah, this guy right here. Yeah, so like I said, we're not in a traditional lab, guys. We've actually got a space in one of the owners. He has a basement here, and we are doing this where we think would set up right. So Nick is actually dressed for the occasion. They've got their attire on, their retro attire. So if you guys notice there's a little bit of a theme here. I'm not dressed in theme today, but it doesn't matter that much. So Nick, I am going to hit play again. We're going to follow this video again, and you can kind of walk us through what's happening here.
Sweet. Sounds great. Okay. So, and right now what I'm doing, that went kind of fast, but what I was doing there is I was infusing the alcohol with the botanicals, which was one part of our kind of two-part comparison that we're doing here. So as you can see, once this gets rolling there, I poured the botanicals in there, I poured the alcohol in there, and now I shake it up, and then we let that sit for 24 hours.
So just so everybody's clear, all you did is take another separate container of ingredients and you just dumped it straight into the vodka itself. Is that correct?
Exactly. Like that, the jar that was on the far right when we were showing you all the ingredients that had the recipe in it, I made up 2 of those jars, one of which is for this alcohol, soaking in the alcohol, and the second of which you saw me pour into the closed loop CO2 extractor.
Okay. So now we're setting that aside, and the machine is still running, right?
Yeah, the machine's still running throughout the whole video.
Okay. So right here, you had let it run for the entire 24 hours, or you let that soak for 24 hours?
Yeah, I actually I did 2 different ones, kind of like they do in the cooking shows. So I already had one made up so that we were ready to go. And then the second I did just to kind of show the viewers.
Okay, great. So right now he is actually making some cocktails. Now, which gin are you using? Are you using from the Little Buddy or from the just to simply soak the ingredients in the vodka?
This one is the soaked version.
Okay. So right now we are he's setting up to create some a few cocktails with the soaked ingredients. And the machine on the left is still running. Like we said, he was running it for 4 hours. He is, looks like right here. So what were you doing back there a second ago?
Yeah, just then, that's when I was harvesting the machine. So that was after 4 hours had elapsed. And that jar that you see David holding there in the next frame is the infused vodka that came out of there.
Okay, so you're harvesting it here. Yeah,
yeah.
Guys,
so you can see that jar down there on the bottom left.
Yeah.
The tube going into it. So that's where you harvest from.
Gotcha.
And so all that infused alcohol is coming out of there. Okay. And as you can see, it's very milky and it's a much different color than the other stuff.
Okay, I'm going to hit play so that we can see it here. Oh, right there. He's got it paused. Okay. So that's the extracted that's what's been extracted from the Little Buddy. That's the harvesting of the what is it, vodka? Is it what is that?
Yeah, so it's essentially vodka and essential oils in a way, and aromatics and different flavorants and things like that. But so what we did is we extracted all that. Mm-hmm. And then what that leaves is like a very, very small amount of the aromatics and the oil in the collection chamber there on the left. And then so what we did is we poured vodka into the system, which then it infused with that oil and brought the aromatics with it.
Okay, so you actually, what you ended up doing is instead of collecting oil like you normally would harvest from an herb, what you guys did is you put the dry product in the process vessel here on the right and took as much of the oil out as you can. And in order to get something to capture that aromatic and flavors, you did, after the process had run for the 4 hours, you ran the vodka through the system, and then the vodka picked up trace elements of the oil, and that's what David here is holding in the middle, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so the alcohol will actually, similar to like a nail polish remover, it'll strip all of that from the system. So even if there's like little trace amounts on the lining of the tubes and things like that, it grabs all of that and takes it out of there.
Awesome.
Yeah, okay. And then it's super, 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 super potent. I just took a little taste and it was way too strong to drink straight. So we ended up using a syringe and using 10 milliliters of the flavored vodka and
Yeah,
putting
here's the
that.
syringe right here.
Yeah, there we go. So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm taking 10 milliliters of that flavored vodka,
Okay.
and then we're going to be mixing that with, I believe, 2 of those shot glasses full of just non-infused vodka.
Okay.
And that 10 milliliters was more than enough to flavor that beverage.
So, and when you were doing this, I assume you're just kind of tasting it. You're adding what you think you should to create that gin juniper taste, right? You don't have an exact science on the
No,
measurement.
not at all. And quite honestly, like, I'm not a bartender. I drink beer mostly, to be honest. So as far as cocktails go, I don't know too much. So we were just kind of shot in the dark. But, going forward, I think we're going to do a lot more experimentation, possibly bring a cocktail bartender in and have them show us the ropes. Because, I'm a little bit out of my element here,
Yeah, no, that's okay. Well, again, for those that are watching or listening, this is the first time we've extracted juniper berry from with a CO2 closed loop CO2 system. So I'm going to hit play again. We're going to watch the rest of this. Okay. So right now he's just creating the cocktail. They're consuming it a little bit here. Him and David had just made some drinks, and as this is okay. Now we're, for you guys watching and listening out there, now are you creating this next cocktail? It looks like you're creating from the ingredients that you soaked in the vodka. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So he's just pouring himself a little shot out of a large mason jar and dumping it in there, and of course adding, the ice, I think, is in there already, and he's just shaking it up and creating the cocktail here from the stirred side. So as he shakes this up, we're also going back to where he's stripping the orange, putting it in, and creating a martini out of it, or gin martini, right? So as you guys were running the system, was there anything different on the system that you would do? Was there anything different that reacted to the juniper berries and the rest of the ingredients that were in the process vessel?
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, honestly, I was a little worried about extracting the juniper berries because I thought we'd bring maybe like different colors or something with it, or odd flavors that we didn't want. But actually, it worked out really, really well. And I mean, both were really good, quite honestly, but each one was very, very different. So the one that was extracted in the CO2 machine it was much more, it was like subtle, but it stayed in your mouth longer. It sat around for a while.
Okay.
Whereas the one that was just soaked in alcohol is kind of just like hits you and then it's gone. So that's one of the biggest things that I noticed about it. And then also the color, it didn't come out dark at all. In fact, it came out lighter than the alcohol infusion. So that was something that I was surprised about.
So aesthetically, what if you were to drink either one, was there like, oh, I like that one better than this cocktail better than that one? What did you think?
Well, I definitely like the CO2 extracted one a little bit better. And then with that said, like, we're going to keep experimenting and try new things. And I think next time we try this, instead of just putting the whole recipe in there, we'll extract each thing separately. And that way we can have like these small amounts of concentrated flavorants that we could then mix and match however we want.
So if you are a bartender out there, and you see the high end speakeasy type bars where they charge $20 and $30 per cocktail, you could actually, like Nick was just saying, you could create little trace amounts of what's the licorice root, right? So you could just do the licorice root, so you had that, and to where you could really, I mean, what's interesting is what I am experiencing in my brain right now, and the way I'm thinking is, okay, you've got this cocktail, and you just paid 30 or 40 bucks for, which it happens in these high end places, and not like a lot of people I don't buy $30 drinks, that's for sure. But every now and then, it's on special occasions, you get hit with solid alcohol, right? It's very strong, especially when you're talking straight gin or straight vodka. You get hit with that. But if you have the taste that's kind of stays with you, I'm not sure. Is that a good thing or bad thing? I think that's up to the person that's drinking it, right?
Totally. I mean, just like we were talking about earlier, just like black licorice. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's just, it all goes down to preference, which is totally fine.
So it sounds like it went really well on the fact of, well, we were able to put all our ingredients, but now you're like, well, coming back to minimizing it to each different ingredient. I mean, how, and I know this is hard to tell. It seems like you could make several cocktails from just that one run that you guys just completed. I mean, we're probably several gallons, I'm guessing.
I would say at least 1 gallon for sure.
Okay.
And also, I could have fit a bunch more of that material in the column itself. I was just replicating the same recipe, so it would be consistent there.
For sure. No, that makes sense. So you could tweak it in a lot of different ways to make this oil more to your liking, or especially when you start focusing on certain compounds and flavors, you could really start being. And I think that's what the mixology guys do, right? They go out and they're like, okay, I've been to these bars where they say, okay, what do you like to drink? And I'll make you something. It seems like you could really get very fine if you were able to have 10 or 20 droplets in front of you. You're like, okay, what do we want to add to this? You could add it to, different Manhattan, so whiskey drinks, different stuff like that. And vodka and gin are the easiest, but you could start adding this to each one, just little hints. And as you get better at it, of course, you're going to make better cocktails. But what do you think is the biggest thing that you learned in running this experiment?
Well, first of all, I mean, it worked, which I was happy about that, because I didn't know if it was going to work or not. But that's the cool thing about experimenting. But the one thing that through doing it that I thought about more is that I should be doing this with products that you cannot soak in alcohol. So, for example, like lime flowers, which would be destroyed by the alcohol, or basil, which would like turn black and nasty, or all these sort of things like that. So trying to make new flavors that possibly couldn't have been created before, just due to the alcohol itself and its properties and how much that can degrade certain things. So I think moving forward, we're definitely going to be looking at a lot of different things that typically don't go into alcohol, but we think may be really good. Like maybe, let's say, like I'm up here in Palisades, so let's say peach blossom. Okay. That sounds great,
Yeah.
So that's what really got me thinking about this, and we're just always trying to find the boundaries of what this machine can really do. And
one thing I'd like to point out, Nick, is that you were able to create a flavor naturally. There's no artificial in this. This is every little bit of flavor or smell is 100% natural. So you're not putting anything in your body. Now, I just laugh at myself about
other than alcohol.
Because the alcohol, yeah, exactly, right. So you got the alcohol that, however it treats your body. We all know that it's rough. It definitely gives us hangovers, so it's got to be rough on our body. But totally. Aside from that, when you see a lot of syrups and stuff and unnatural things added to different alcohols and different flavors, you totally you don't have to go that direction. You can do 100% natural. And you see it, I think, I see advertising in the higher end alcohols, but you can see here, this isn't like taking a little drop of something and throwing it in there that has all kinds of dyes in it and special flavors. You're taking it exactly from the plant itself, which that's why we created what we created, right?
Totally. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's really cool because you could even just go into your backyard, pick a few things, throw it in there, and make your own stuff.
So that's what's going to be exciting about working with you on this, guys. This is the kind of stuff we're going to bring to you as much as possible. We want to explore every little formulation that we can, and Nick is helping create that with us. So I'm super excited to be a part of this, and I'm super excited to share also with you guys that are listening and watching out there, be able to share this with us. And we're looking for ideas from you. Like, what do you guys want us to run? We will run it for you just to do it. Going back to what Nick was talking about that I love is that we're going to be able to extract certain products that you couldn't just let soak out of alcohol. And so that's going to come some amazing new flavors. It's also, what's really cool is when you see in bars, because I see it when I walk into certain bars, you'll see big jars where they're doing the soaked infusion of these different parts, right? So we're going to take that side of it and we're going to clean it up. It's like you don't have to have these jars out there soaking in these things. We're going to show you how we can do it to the pristine point of here's what you have and here's what you get. And you're always going to have that same consistency. So Nick, I'm looking forward to sharing some other stuff with these guys in the future. Is there anything that you want to share, ideas that we're going to be sharing with the folks here down the road on what you have in mind or what you guys have been kicking around?
Well, yeah. So like I said before, we're definitely going to experiment with extracting each separate compound and then trying new botanicals to extract and infuse with alcohol. But like Tony said, if there's some bartenders out there and you have some ideas, like shoot it our way and we'll totally do it. And we'll be glad to do it. In fact, and like I said, like I'm a beer drinker, so quite honestly, like I don't really know what people want when it comes to cocktails. So like any input is really great, I think.
Yeah, and we can talk about more ideas from there. And guys, if you guys like what you're hearing, please follow us through YouTube, or also be following us on your podcast app. And that way we can share more and more of the stuff with you. Really appreciate it. It's our goal to be in the top 100 podcasts here, and we want to make that possible. We want to share the knowledge with you guys. Again, we know there's several different ways to extract. This is one way, and we're going to show you as much stuff as we can with the little buddy. And we can't wait to bring you more amazing stuff. So, Nick, thanks so much for joining us today. Guys, please reach out to us at extractionessentials.com. There's a way you can catch us in there. We also have all our social media feeds, but that's the best place for us. Nick, I want you to have a safe trip wherever you're headed. So we will see you here real soon. Guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Tony.
You have just listened to another informative episode of Extraction Essentials with Tony Frischknecht. We invite you to come back next time as we strive to provide useful knowledge and tools every week to help you on your extraction business. You can also visit extractionessentials.com for additional resources and to know more about working with Tony. See you again next time.